Now, would you consider yourself color struck? Can you be racist if you're black? Or can you be a bigot if you're black? I was thinking that there are some things that I think they've run their course, and they need to change. I think it's time for a change. I think the country is advancing, and there's some terminology that needs to be corrected. For instance, there was a time when young black girls couldn't participate in beauty pageants. I mean, the major beauty pageants. For instance, Miss Universe, Miss America, Miss World. So they created their own, Miss Black World, Miss Black America, Miss Black USA, Miss Black Universe. But now, all races are able to participate in these mainstream beauty pageants. But are all races available or can participate in the Miss Black whatever? For instance, can a Caucasian person or a Latina participate in a Miss Black World's beauty pageant? Or Miss Black USA? Is that possible? I mean, can you imagine the looks on everybody's faces if there was a white person who participated in Miss Black World and won? I mean, what do you think would happen? Or do you think that it's time to change these names using a race in front of them? Since blacks have won, black women have won mainstream beauty pageants. So, is it still necessary for these beauty pageants to be some race related or some racial beauty pageant? And talking about beauty pageants, I was just thinking about the homecoming queens during the 60s and 70s and possibly beyond. But during those times at the schools that had predominantly black enrollment, black students, did you ever notice that the homecoming queens were of the lighter complexion of black people? And I imagine that was the case in a lot of these colleges, the historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs. The homecoming queen was normally a lighter complected black person. So this colorism amongst in the black community is nothing new. I mean, it's something that's been going on for a long time. Because I hear some people saying that, it's a high yellow person, or call the guy color struck because he likes a lighter complected black young lady, or she likes a lighter complected black young man. So those type things happen, but like I said, they're not new. They've gone on for quite some time, and that brings me to a story that I can remember growing up as a little kid. They used to have this show that used to come on after school. It was a kids show, and during the time when I was a kid, they didn't have color TV. Well, not in my community at the time. It was, early 60s, early mid 60s. But anyway, we had black and white TV. And there was this show that used to come on for kids, whereas they'd have the host, a hostess, I should say, was a lady who was dressed up in a cat suit, with the little ears and everything. And she had her sidekick was a clown. And it was a very, very popular show in my city. And I couldn't wait to get home so I could watch the show because it was a very interesting show. And I watched the show hundreds of times. But I never saw a black kid on the show. And the way the show was that they'd have these kids on a little merry-go-round. And the hostess, the lady dressed up in the cat suit, she'd have a microphone and she would interview the kids by asking them their name and asking them what they wanted to be when they grew up. And like I said, as long as I watched that show, I'd never seen a black kid on the show. But this particular day, it just so happened that there was a black kid there. So here I am in front of the TV, watching the hostess interview the kids in the little merry-go-round. And the way it went like this. The first kid would come around and she'd be, she'd have to stoop down so she could actually be on the little kids' level because the kids were anywhere between 4 and probably 8 years old. They were, little kids. And she'd ask them, what's your name and what do you want to be when you grow up? And so the first kid comes around, he goes, my name is Tommy, and I want to be a policeman. And then she'd go around, and her sidekick was a clown. He'd give the little kid a toy. And then here comes another little kid on the little merry-go-round, and the hostess would ask, "Hi, what's your name, and what do you want to be when you grow up?" And the little girl, she said, "My name is Mary, and I want to be a mommy." And so the little kid would go around, and the clown would give the kid a toy. Then here comes the next kid. And she'd say, what's your name and what do you want to be when you grow up? And he goes, my name is Bobby, and I want to be a fireman. So the next kid would come around, and she'd ask the name and what does he want to be when he grew up? And he goes, my name is David, and I want to be a doctor. And here comes another kid. And this little kid comes around, and the hostess would ask, they said, what's your name and what do you want to be when you grow up? And the little girl would say, my name is Susan, and I want to be a teacher. Well, they get around to this little black kid. He was he must have been like about maybe 5 or 6 years old. And there was just something peculiar about the whole episode. I mean, I can still remember it. I mean, this is many, many decades ago. But she gets around to the little black kid, and she asks him, she says, what's your name and what do you want to be when you grow up? And he goes, my name is Tyrone, and I want to be a white man. And you can imagine the look on her face, the look on the clown's face. They were flabbergasted. They didn't know what to say. I don't even think they gave the kid a toy. But she just immediately said, Well, we'll be right back. Commercial break. And it's like they were stunned. And I never knew what happened to that episode. I mean, I tried to find it. I mean, maybe it's in the archive someplace, or maybe they discarded it or burned it. I don't really know, but that was a very trying time, I guess, for the show. With that one episode and that one little black kid that stunned stunned the hostess, and I'm sure the clown, he was taken back. So that was something, like I said, there's something I can still remember. But, have you ever really thought about it? Or when you see kids now who are, especially these young ladies, or, they're bleaching their skin and that type of thing. Because I'm sure that with that young man, the little black kid, he probably wasn't the only one who thought like that in those times, back in the 60s, probably in the early 70s. He couldn't have been the only one. And you have to wonder, where did he get this idea from that he could change his race, his complexion, his color, to become a white person? And I mean, he was dark. I mean, so I don't know exactly what he was thinking. Maybe he thought that maybe he could wake up and he'd turn into somebody else. I don't know. But you have to wonder, well, what was his environment at home? What was his parents teaching him? Or is it that he felt as though whites at the time had the advantages, and by him being a black kid, he was at a disadvantage, and he wanted the advantages in life? Could have been. I mean, I don't know, but just something to think about.